Welcome back, everybody. This is Year of the Book. It is a stunning day today, and I've got a bit of a different video for you tonight. Our first ever interview, our first ever author chat. I've got Emma Bennet came on to have a talk, and I got to ask her all the questions that I want to ask more experienced authors, and Emma was super generous with her time and her wisdom sharing that, so check it out. Head over to her channel as well, where she's also got lots of tips for writers. I hope you enjoy this video. Hi, Emma.
Hi,
Thank you.
Lucy.
Thanks so much for joining us on my channel today. It's really good to see you, and I'm really excited to get the opportunity to chat to you a little bit and I guess grill you. Well, not grill you really, but know more about your writing journey because that's really what my channel is all about.
Mhm.
So, thanks a lot. So, maybe to start off with, do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are as an author?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. So I write as Emma Bennet. I'm based in the UK, as is your fine self,
Yeah.
and I typically write contemporary romance. I also write non-fiction for authors, children's picture books, and Regency romance. But yeah, my main thing is contemporary romance, and I'm a hybrid publisher. Most of my books are traditionally published, but some of them are self-published. I'm also a developmental editor. I have a YouTube channel. I teach creative writing, so I've got a lot going on.
That does sound like a lot. You are doing a lot. That is amazing. So I'm going to ask you a little bit later about how you manage all those different things. So I'm really interested in managing the work-life balance. But to start with, I wanted to ask you a question that it might seem like a stupid question, but
Oh.
I'm all for asking stupid questions. And that is, I read on your profile that you write cozy romance.
Mhm.
And I keep seeing this term cozy coming up on different booktube, authortube channels, cozy author vibes. So this is my potentially stupid question. What does cozy mean in the context of writing genres and in the whole booktube world? Like I get cozy as in like cozying up with a blanket. Is it just that, or is there
Well,
more to it than that?
it's like the book is your blanket.
Oh, I love
I
that.
guess I guess is the way to look at it. With my books, I mean, they're romances, so you have a guaranteed happy ever after. Most of them are
Okay.
set in the English countryside. The gentle stories, you're not going to have a lot of swearing.
Mm-hmm.
Couples do get it on, but it's behind closed doors. And you kind of know that there's not going to be a lot of angst, a lot of things that could potentially upset readers. It's a
Okay.
comfort read.
Great.
Escapist comfort read.
That's great. Thank you for explaining that because I never would have distilled that without asking you. So thanks. I really appreciate it. Um, so as I said, lots of people that watch my channel, I think, and I'm really just starting out, but my channel is all about documenting the writing journey that I am currently going on. So I'm only 4 months into writing what will be my first collection of short stories. As I mentioned in my videos, I do already kind of write for a living because I'm an academic, but
Yeah.
that's a very different type of
Oh yeah,
writing.
completely different type of
Completely different
writing. Yeah,
worlds, but
yeah.
there are some overlaps there. So I'm quite early on in that journey, and I guess like the whole journey of getting towards publication, whether that's traditional publishing or self-publishing, a lot of that just feels like a big black box to
Mhm.
me, and maybe some of the people that watch my channel. So this is why I was really excited to talk to you as a more experienced author. So what I wanted to ask you was, could you tell us about your journey to being an author or your journey as an author, a little bit about your writing journey? Have you always been an author? Has that been your long-term career? Did you do something before? If so, how did you make that transition? All that kind of thing about the journey, I'm really interested in.
Oh, okay. So I suppose the first thing to say is that the publishing industry is changing so much so
Mm,
quickly. So it's possible that the way that I went into it is kind of not the way that authors would maybe come into it today. And there were just so many options available. when I first started writing, you were sending off manuscripts in the post,
Right.
a big A4 envelope, and waiting to have a response again by the post, even though there was email. It wasn't that
Yeah.
long ago. I kind of started writing when my eldest son was a baby. I wrote a few stories for him, and those are the ones that were sent off in the post. It's really, really hard to get a picture book published. It turns out something
Okay.
that I wasn't aware of, but it is. It's really, really hard. So that didn't really go anywhere.
Mm.
And then years later, when my youngest was maybe about 2, I think. No, younger than that, 1 maybe. I read the most stupid article saying how easy it was to write a romance book, that it was completely formulaic and anybody could do it. And I thought, wait a minute, like, don't be ridiculous. I read a lot of romance. At that point, I had a like a book review website that I ran,
Mm-hmm.
so I knew quite a few authors, and I was reading a lot, as I always have done. I was like, oh, come on. And me being me, I had to test out the story, didn't I? So I wrote a book, The Green Hills of Home, set in Wales, where I live. And I actually finished it. And I was like, okay, like, what do I do with this
Mm.
now? I don't really know. I sent it off to Mills and Boon, not realizing how particular they are about the books that they take on. They
Yeah.
have very set word limits.
Mm.
They have, um, you know, rules, if you like, for each of the subgenres. And I had
Okay.
no idea. I literally just sent it off. So they sent a really, really lovely reply encouraging me, but saying that it wasn't for them.
Yeah.
But I thought, okay, like, it's taken so long to hear back from them. They're busy, whatever. I'm not going to spend the next 2 years sending out
Yeah.
manuscripts. It's fine. Like, I'll self-publish it because I'd like to see it published. So I did that. And then I had an idea for a second book. Um, and I wrote that. And I just interviewed an author for my book review website. And she had just signed with a publisher, and she was really, really happy with them. And I thought, you know what, like, I'll send it off to like one publisher, and I'll see if they're interested. And they were. And they took on that book and also my first book as well. I unpublished that, and it was published by them.
Okay.
Yeah, and so it really, really wasn't a simple, straightforward route. I then
Mm.
wrote 2 novellas as well and another book for them. But I had a problem with my stupid left ear. Like real vertigo and things like
Mm-hmm.
that, and I couldn't write anymore. I could write, but I couldn't edit. I
Right.
couldn't actually. If you've ever experienced something like that, you can't think properly.
Yeah.
You can't
Yeah.
think in that detail. So I wasn't able to write books at that time. So I left that publisher, and I didn't really write for a year or 2, I think. Wrote another book, self-published that, which was fun. Wrote another book, and then I sent that off to a publisher, and that's the publisher that I'm still with now. They took
Right.
on that book and all of the previous back catalogue, which was not the novellas, but it was like 4 books, I think,
Mm-hmm.
as well as a new one. And that was
Right.
Joffy Books, who I'm still with now, although I'm technically under their romance imprint now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So and then in
Wow.
between that, yeah, I've written some nonfiction for writers, which I self-published, and a picture book as well.
Amazing. So that is really a journey over many years then.
Exactly, and so many like ups and downs. It's not a case necessarily that you write a book, you find an agent. I've
Mm.
never had an agent. They
Okay.
find you a publisher, and that's it. There you go, and you're writing a book a year for that publisher. It really isn't.
Mm.
There were so many kind of ups
Yeah.
and downs, and dipping into self-publishing and coming back out again, and
Yeah. Yeah, it's really not a linear journey, is it?
yeah.
Yeah. So was there any point at which you kind of realized or maybe decided this is my career now? Or was it never really that straightforward either?
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, I think I thought it might be, I wasn't really looking for a career, to be honest. It was, it was just something that I enjoyed doing. But
Mm,
my second book, it did very, very well. It sold a lot, and I was making like proper money. And it was
hmm.
like, okay, this is a job, this is very exciting,
Yeah.
this is happening. But then I had to pull all of my books because of my bad ear.
Right.
And
Oh my
so then
God.
it was like, oh, that was just such a disappointment to go from that high of, okay, I'm doing this, I am a professional writer, if you like,
Yeah.
to going from that to nothing. I had no books available at
Oh
all
wow. So
anywhere.
that's really from the highs to
Mhm.
the lows then, I guess. That's really difficult.
Yeah.
And did you just have to wait until you'd recovered from that condition before you're able to get back into
Yeah,
things or
I had to wait. I think it was a delightful about 18 months before I
mm,
finally saw a doctor who said, right, okay, so you're doing these exercises. Yeah. And I was like, no. He's like, but you've seen a load of doctors and no one told you to do these.
oh
I was like, no.
gosh.
And literally a week later, I was like, okay, I'm functioning.
Oh,
There
amazing.
we go.
That is crazy. I think it's often the way that you kind of, perhaps especially in the UK, I don't know about
Yeah.
other places, but you go around the houses a lot before
Hmm.
you get
Hmm.
to the right solution. Well, I'm glad you've managed to get it sorted and so quickly as well. But yeah, that is like a number of challenges. So speaking of challenges, we know that you're a parent.
Hmm.
I'm also a parent to relatively young kids. And I think that so I also work not quite full time, but almost full time, 4.5 days a week.
Hmm.
And I find it really difficult to balance all
Oh,
these
yeah.
different things. And I guess I'm relatively new to writing. I'm not able to write every day when I'm at home. And
Sure.
that's partly because the mental load of parenting plus work plus other activities,
Mhm.
it's too much. I can't
Yeah,
like
you can't do
fit it
everything.
in. Even
Hmm.
if I could physically find the time, I have to be like not completely in the zone, but I have to have
Hmm.
had like a sort of buffer of time and space around me
Right.
before I'm able
Right.
to sit down and do
Sure.
something.
Yeah, before you're feeling creative, you can't just go, right, I'm going to unload the dishwasher
Yeah.
and read a story, and then I'm going to go and
Yeah, I
write.
need
Yeah.
like a time buffers in between
Mhm.
activities to help me like transition
Sure.
between things. So often, I'm writing in the evenings and most of my videos will start with me like lying on my bed after just spending an hour like processing bedtime and dinner and bath
Because
time
I
and all
did
that.
it. I did it another day. Another day I did it.
Yeah. And then going, okay, now I think I'm able to write. So am I right in thinking that you've got four children?
I have. I
You
have.
have got four
I've got
children.
four boys, but they're much, much older.
Okay.
And what I have to, you have to make sure that you do appreciate. You said that you lie on the bed and going over bedtime. Once they get above a certain age, they do not go to bed.
Oh no,
Okay,
I
they're
thought you
just
were going to say something
there.
positive,
No, they're
Emma.
just there. So they're still 11 o'clock at night. Yeah, you're still getting, oh, could you do this? Could you do this? Blah, blah,
Oh
blah,
my
blah, 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 blah,
gosh.
blah. Last night, midnight, my youngest started frying up eggs and sausages in the kitchen. I just finished cleaning it. I had just like cleaned down the sink. It was perfection. It was a beautiful moment, literally for a moment. And he marches in.
Oh, I'm having like an anxiety
Yeah,
thinking about it.
you see, and I still remember the days of like 7 o'clock. Okay, guys, come on, everybody into bed, and then
Yeah, we're
no,
quite religious about that as well. About them getting them into bed early.
make the
Okay.
most of it. It stops.
Well, yeah, we will cherish that whilst it lasts then, that I even get that half an hour of mental processing. So tell us how, during all those years of parenting then, and all through all the phases, how have you managed it? I guess especially when, as a writer, I know you're doing other things, but it's a lot of working independently, isn't it? A
Yes.
lot of working from home in your sort of domestic space. And
Mhm.
it's different to going into an office or working very closely with a team of people
Mm.
and so on, where there's that separation between like home and work life. So
Mhm.
how do you do it?
Well, when my boys were smaller, I didn't work outside the house or anything, and I didn't take on nearly as much editing work or anything like that. I
Mm,
didn't have a YouTube channel. I
yeah,
didn't teach a writing class. I did do some proofreading here and there, and I also did tutoring because before I moved to Wales, I was a personal tutor. So I do occasional things like that.
yeah,
But it really was just writing one book at a time, which is not easy by any means, but I wasn't like now so at the moment I'm working on two different books
okay,
at very different stages of them. And, filming for the YouTube channel, I've got a big editing job. At the moment, I'm doing a beta read for somebody. There's like a lot of different
yeah,
balls that I'm juggling. Whereas when they were younger, that wasn't the case.
mm,
And I am somebody who was able quite quickly to pick up the skills of being able to just write. So
yeah,
if I was waiting for them to finish an activity, I would always have a notepad with me.
okay,
I was notorious that most of them did judo for quite a while, and it was only an hour long. It wasn't worth going home, so I'd be in the corner, and I would be writing for that hour.
okay,
And just making use of any small
mm,
pocket of time. I'd also just keep my laptop open in the kitchen so that as I
okay.
was walking past it, I could,
Oh,
type a
wow.
couple of sentences. But, I completely get that that doesn't work for everyone, and you have to
Mm,
find what works for you. That wouldn't work if I was, doing really careful edits or anything like that, because
yeah.
obviously you have to really focus. But
Hmm.
in terms of just drafting, that was something that really helped me.
That's really interesting. So you could kind of take those bits of work anywhere then.
Mhm.
You could
Yeah,
take it with
exactly.
you and
Yeah,
just,
I would just, and that was before. I mean, now there's Google Docs, and you can just have it
yeah.
on your phone. I actually wrote a book on my phone
Oh, wow.
as a challenge. It was a book for writers wanting to make the best use out of X or Twitter,
Mm,
as it was. And I wrote the first draft of that completely on my phone using
amazing.
Google Docs. So things
Yeah.
like that do just make it so much easier if you're someone who can just kind of go and pick up your writing whenever.
Yeah. I found I do make notes on my phone that I come back to later,
Yeah,
or
that's
I've
really helpful.
often make myself voice notes now when I'm on the
Mhm.
way to do school pickup or something like that of ideas, brainstorming and so on.
Mhm.
But I don't think I could kind of properly do any drafting
Sure.
it on the go. I was even surprised that I could write outside my own office when I was away
Sure.
for work, actually. Very much, yeah,
Yeah,
I feel like I need to
that's
have
like, yeah, that
certain,
that is where you work. I mean, I
yeah.
couldn't do the voice notes because my voice would annoy me too much. I'd be listening back like, oh.
I know what you mean. I interview people a lot for my work as a researcher, and I still always cringe when I listen or like watch myself. I'm like, what am I doing? But I think over time, and then starting the YouTube channel as well, just kind of have to uh,
Sure.
get over it. But
Yeah,
yes,
you do have to accept the fact I sound like this.
yeah,
Let's just move on.
yeah. Sometimes it's worse when you're editing a transcript of an interview and you're
Oh.
reading your own words, and of course you don't have the context of the conversation and the body language, and you just think, why did I say that? I sound like an
What
idiot.
am I doing?
Anyway, so the last thing I wanted to ask you was if you were going to do this all over again,
Mhm.
if you were uh, a younger aspiring author all
Mhm.
over again, is there anything that you would do differently? And I guess this is also relevant to what you mentioned earlier in that the context of the publishing industry
Mhm.
has changed a huge amount as well.
Yeah.
So maybe if you were doing it again starting today, is there anything that you would be doing differently? Probably a lot of things, right? Given how much things have
Yes,
changed.
yeah, a lot of things. I did a little while ago, actually. I made a couple of videos, and one of them was things that I've kind of done wrong in my publishing
Mm,
career and things that I've done right. And that was quite interesting to think about because some things are out of your control
yeah.
to a certain extent. But the biggest thing that I would change, and this was actually my video from last week, is that I would start building my author brand from a
Mm,
point that I knew that I was going to have a book that I wanted to do something with.
right.
So, not even that I knew what was going to happen to it, whether I was going to self publish or attempt to traditionally publish.
Mm,
That from that point that I was like, okay, this is a proper story that that I am going to finish in a genre that I love. I would begin getting myself out there,
yeah.
particularly now because the market is just so saturated
Mm,
with writers, and it is absolutely wonderful that people can go and they can publish their books in the way that they want them to be published. I think
hmm
that that is absolutely amazing. But at the same time, there is just so much.
yeah.
And for readers to be able to find your book, they need to find you.
Yeah.
And if they have that connection with you,
Mm,
then they are going to be much more likely to buy your book, to recommend your book to
yeah.
somebody else. So, but I was very, very firmly of the opinion that when you are writing your first book, you focus on that.
Mm,
Often people have got jobs, they've got children, parents they're caring for, whatever. They don't have time to be on Canva making pretty Instagram
mm,
posts and things. And for a long time, I really did stand by that. Don't waste your time, putting yourself on social media. You don't have anything available yet.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you have yourself available.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when you do come out with a product, people are actually going to be interested and are going to want to know about that.
Yeah, and I think so that matters as much with traditional publishing as self-publishing, you're
Oh,
saying, right?
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, my publishers are absolutely brilliant. They market my books very well. They provide me with Instagram posts and things like that that I can use
Okay.
when the books come out, and that's brilliant. But we still need to market ourselves and our
Yeah.
books, even if you have got a fantastic publisher who does a lot for you.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think to a certain extent, I think there's something similar in academia as well,
Mm.
in that, what I like about academia is doing the research,
Oh,
right? Just like people like doing the writing, but
mhm.
actually sustaining your public profile is incredibly
Mhm.
important as
Yeah.
well, and building a narrative around who you are as a
Mhm.
researcher and the type of value and impact that your research has and so on
Oh, yeah.
is kind of equally important.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah,
But in academia, especially, it is so much about who you know.
yes, yeah,
Because you're not going to get the opportunities if people don't know who you are.
yeah,
If
networking
they
incredibly
if
important.
they haven't heard
Yeah,
that you do a good job, if you haven't worked for this person and they tell this
yeah,
person, yeah, hugely important.
yeah. Do you think that that's the same in publishing and writing, or is it slightly different, maybe more fragmented,
I
or?
think it is slightly different. I think networking for writers is hugely, hugely important.
Mm,
Um, I mean, for a start, writers are readers as well.
yeah,
So, writers buy books. So, looking at it from a point of view of buy my book, there's that. But
yeah,
more important than that, because that's not going to put you in the bestseller charts. More important than that is the support of the community, is
mm,
learning from others, is finding mentors who
yeah,
will advise you, is getting recommendations of people and learning how to do things. If you need an editor, not having to just pick someone out of a hat
yes,
on Fiverr or something like that, actually getting recommendation for somebody who
hmm
is an expert in your genre and who somebody else has used.
yeah,
If you want to be able to run some kind of marketing campaign, and you need somebody to help you with that. Again, if you've got a recommendation, it
Yeah.
makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I say, just general advice as well, being able to know people who you can say, okay, I have no idea how to do this.
Yes.
You know, like when I started with YouTube and I decided I was wanting to do some live streams, I was feeling very brave that day. You know, there were a couple of people who were just so kind to me. And one of them, she was like, do you know what, why don't I just come and I'll just co-host, and I'll be there in the background and I can kind of, you know,
Yeah.
show you what to do. Thank you. Another person was there kind of in the chats helping me out and things like that.
Yeah.
And obviously, if I didn't know those people, if I hadn't commented on their videos and become friends with them, joined Discord servers and things like that, I wouldn't have had that support.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really important. I think that's a great point. So that was all the questions that I had for you, Emma. But is there anything that you want to ask me?
I want to ask you, first of all, okay, I've got a couple of questions for you. This
Yeah.
is fun. Okay, so why short stories in particular? What draws you to write short
Yeah,
stories?
that's a great question. So I think it's because I love reading short stories. The most simple answer. I mean, I guess also in the genre that I'm writing in, which I say broadly is ghost stories, some of the authors from older, like previous generations,
Mm-hmm.
have been writing short stories. So people like
Mm-hmm.
M.R. James, Edgar Allan Poe,
Mm-hmm.
and many more. Some of the most well-known ghost story writers
Yep.
have been writing short stories.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it is mainly because I love short stories. I love reading them. We probably have almost as many short story collections on our bookshelves as we do novels.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's it really. I like writing them and I like reading them. I do think that I have a potential like novel idea somewhere in the back of my head, which I
Mm-hmm.
started writing thinking it would be a short story. And then I was like, okay, this this is getting longer and longer. So I've set that aside for now,
Mm-hmm.
to focus on the short stories. Having said that, what I really have no idea about is how publishable or popular new short story collections are. I think
Mm-hmm.
I see a lot, especially in the sort of horror ghost story genre, loads and loads of new anthologies being published, but they're
Yeah.
most often compilations of stories that have been published many times before
Right.
by authors who are already very well established or, you know, from years and years ago. So I don't see many new short story collections in my genre. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know whether that's to do with the market, or what really. So that's stuff that I'll have to
Mm-hmm.
find out as
Sure.
part of my market research. But that's why really I like reading them. I think as well because one of the first videos I made was about how I don't read that much anymore.
Right.
I used to read a huge amount when I was a kid and a younger person, but then since working in academia, which has been about 12 years, I spend a vast amount of time reading for work and
Sure.
also writing for work. And I think because of that, I've found myself less able to get into reading for pleasure
Mm-hmm.
anymore. And once I do get into it, I usually enjoy it, but I often just don't feel like sitting down and reading something again. I often want to do something else in like
Yeah.
small bits of free time that I have. And so for that reason, short stories are perfect because it
Sure.
is something that you can kind of dip into
Mm-hmm.
without that big commitment. So I've got like a couple of collections on the go at the moment that I'm reading. So yeah, it's also for that, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And horror just lends itself so well to short stories, I think.
Yeah.
I think you can do an awful lot with a horror story, creating that whole world in
Yeah.
in less words, if you like, than it would
Yeah.
take. Like a romance, for example, I really don't think that works as well with short stories because you can't get the depth of feeling
Yeah, the
that you can
relationship
really
building, yeah.
scare somebody
Yes, yeah.
in the
Yeah.
same number of words.
I
Yeah.
think that's also one of the most difficult things about it because you kind of got to get to it.
Yes.
You've got
Yeah.
to set the
Yeah. You
atmosphere
can't. Yeah.
or
You can't mess around.
you
You've
got
got
to
to.
set it up really quickly, yeah.
Wow. It's,
So
it's
I'll have a
definitely
lot
a
of editing
skill.
to do in my short stories because some of them are like, I'm a bit slow getting to the point here, but I
But
get into
that,
the characters and then, but yeah, it's all for the
yeah,
editing, I
that's
think. Yeah.
fine. You know, I think it's, you can't edit a blank page, but
Yeah.
also sometimes it's, I never have. I'm always needing to add to my stories. I'm an
Mm,
underwriter, so I just
yeah.
think it must be wonderful to have those extra words and to be
Yes.
able to like play around with it more. I love
Yeah.
that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And the other thing I wanted to ask you was, how are you finding YouTube for accountability? Because I've always found it really, really good. Just because if I state something, you kind
Yeah.
of have to do it.
Yeah. So that's a great question. So it was one of the reasons I started the channel in my first video. I said, I wanted to sort of connect with people, part of that community and
Mm,
networking, but also that I wanted to create some form of accountability to
sure.
myself. So I've made a public statement. And I think in terms of that, uh, after a few videos, I was like, well, obviously I've only just started. Hardly
Mhm,
anybody is watching my videos,
mhm.
so it's not really any public accountability. But still, it kept me going. And
Yep.
then as I've gone on, I have found that there have been plenty of right nights where I thought, I can't really be asked
Mhm.
writing, but I thought, no, I need to put out a video this
Yeah.
week, two longer videos a week.
Mhm.
So it has motivated me to keep going. And then I think as time's gone on a bit further, I've got a bit more engagement on my videos, kind of connecting with people like
Mhm.
yourselves and a few other authors. That has motivated me
Mhm.
further as well. So I think it does support me in terms of accountability. I also started recently to talk a bit more to people in my day-to-day life about it as well.
Mhm.
And I think that that has also helped.
Sure.
Um, I do find like the whole sort of booktube, authortube world, like I'm not really, outside of this, I'm not really a big social media user or
Mhm.
engager. So I only found out about the booktube tag a few weeks ago, and then I
Mhm.
started looking in it, and obviously it's a whole world,
Yeah.
right? And there's all like internal politics of that world and all those things going on there and different takes and all this. So I find that really interesting. Probably with my researcher hat on,
Mhm.
I'm thinking about that. So it is interesting to join part of this sort of social media community that I've never really been a part of before.
Sure.
From a social science point of view, it's very interesting. And I'm also like, where do I fit into this? What is my
Mhm.
role? And I think it's important to think about, one of the booktube newbie questions is what's unique about your channel? What do you bring? So I think I'm still
Mhm.
thinking about that as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How
that
do
is
you
a
find
really
it?
difficult question. Yeah, I really, really like it. Um I didn't expect there to be such a community feel to it, to be honest. And it was lovely almost straight
Mm,
away, having that kind of support, having people sharing your videos and commenting on your videos and people to ask advice
yeah.
from and things. I've got a Facebook group which I run now, which is for author tubers, and it's
Okay.
not.
Yeah.
We do share our videos on a Friday, but it's
Mm,
not. It's not for that. It is for asking advice. If people want to set up like collaborations,
yeah. Yes.
especially for tag videos, what I tend to do if I film a tag video, then I will put a call out and I'll say, look, if anyone else wants to film
Mm,
this tag, I'm making a playlist,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'll add your videos onto that and things like that. So that's really, really nice. And yeah, just the accountability of having said, okay, this month I'm gonna do this, and then having to come
Yeah.
back. And I love the way that you film your writing nights, because that is just such. So first of all, you're getting a video filmed at the
Hmm.
same time as doing your writing, which is just,
Yeah.
that's like James Clear Atomic Habits stuff, like right there, because the two are connected.
Yes.
You're not going to do one without the other.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Thanks.
Because if you're anything like me, there are a lot of times when I'm like, I just do not want to put a camera in my face. Like, when I was doing NaNoWriMo, I was doing daily updates, just little shorts, just with what I'd done.
Yeah.
And honestly, by November the 30th, I was ready to throw my phone out of the window. I was like, I do not want that thing in my face. for a week after this, I am not gonna like put on makeup. I am gonna look like an absolute scrag bag. Like, no, I do not want to see that thing anywhere near me. And yeah, there's a lot of times when, yeah, you do have to kind of go, okay,
Yeah,
we need to do this, and I think that's good for us.
yes. And I think that, I mean, I'm also someone that I cringe when I see myself on camera, but I able to not cringe enough to not do it. So, and you'll see in some videos, because I'm at home and I'm slightly chaotic anyway, I'm sometimes like, oh, I'm in my dressing gown, or I'm not fully dressed. My hair is insane.
But
So,
people
and
love
I just
that.
thought, you know what, it's authentic. Let's just push through. It's fine. But sometimes
Authentic, yeah.
I edit it and I'm like, oh my God, I look awful. But then I'm like, it's fine. It's real. It's okay.
Okay, first of all, you never look awful. But secondly, I do love the way that anything that doesn't work out quite right with YouTube, I would just go, oh, it's authentic.
Yes,
It's honest,
exactly.
it's honest and authentic. It's fine.
Yeah. The only time I haven't been able to use things is when I had the camera pointing the wrong way. just just a shot of my oven for 15 minutes. So
Oh,
that didn't get used. I redid
no.
that. But yeah, there's often kind of chaos in the background. And I just think as well, you know, there's so much social media that is so highly curated,
Mhm.
but made to look authentic. But actually, you know, people might have a whole team of videographers
Yeah.
and things to set stuff up. But it's important to just show like the mess in the kitchen,
Mhm.
the dressing gown, the chaos on my
Yeah.
desk. Look, at the moment, I
Yeah.
have
It's,
a
you know,
little a bug in resin on my desk and a
yeah,
very old Nokia phone. I don't know how they got there or why they're on my desk right now,
they're there,
but
and that's fine. And
yeah.
I do think that that's particularly important when you have viewers who are women, and particularly women who are mothers of
Yeah.
young children, to just to go, okay, like I'm doing this, you know, this is year of the book. I am doing this year,
Yeah.
and it's not easy. And sometimes I don't want to do it.
Mm. Yeah.
And yeah, I've got a bug on my desk today, and you know, it's been completely crazy, but you know, I'm turning up for myself,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
in a very imperfect way,
Hmm. Yeah,
you know.
absolutely. Yeah. Wonderful. Well, I think that's a great note to end on. So thank you so much, Emma, for coming on my channel. It's been really, really nice talking to you and learning more about your journey and all your experience as an author. So I really appreciate it. And I will see you around soon, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
definitely. Thank you.
Great.
I hope you enjoyed that. I'm sure you'll agree. Loads of really useful insights there from Emma. I will have to get off this grass in a minute. I'm taking a risk here with the pollen, aren't I? But it's just so nice. Let me know if you enjoyed this video in the comments, anything that surprised you or that you found especially useful, and let me know if you'd like to see more videos like this, more author chats. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.